on this edition of Viral.
Four Corners of Hell.
Four Corners of Hell.
Four Corners of Hell Invitational.
And Four Corners of Hell.
Four Corners of Hell.
John Ryker.
Chris Tighe.
Lane Smart.
Victor Crew.
And even my own former tag team partner, Cameron Frost.
You know, I sat at home for a long time and I listened to Brian Caige talk about how he should be the CSW champion, not for now, not for a couple months, not for a couple years, but forever. And I sat at home and I take offense to that, sir, because there's only one man that meets the criteria to have the right to call himself that.
Cameron Frost. You want to talk about how it ruffles your feathers, me saying that I'm going to be CSW champion forever? Forever! And then you have the gall to come back and say you deserve to be the champion, Frost, when you abandoned these people. The only one who stuck around, the only one who fought for them and gave them everything they wanted, whether they knew it or not, was me, was Brian Caige. You want to say you deserve to be CSW champion? You want to say that any of you deserve to be CSW champion and walk out four corners of hell?
Been in this business for 12 years. And I've avoided that match because of one reason and one reason only. I believe in tradition. You don't need chair shots. You don't need tables breaking. All you need is a good waist lock and a good suplex, and you have a wrestling match. But no. In order for me to keep my contract here in CSW, you gotta put me in Four Corners of Hell, which I thought, when I signed my original contract, that it was in my clause not to do matches like that. But I guess when I renewed the contract, you took that clause out, and stupid me, I didn't read it. That's fine.
And CSW, one more time into the hardcore fray. A place they said I'd never go again. But you're dragging me there. You're taking me to a place I don't want to go anymore.
You're going to find out that the man is back. And I am going to walk out with the CSW Heavyweight Championship.
I'll walk that line again. I'll pick up my Singapore cane one more time. I'll pull out my golf bag full of tricks. Raise that 9-iron high and crack it across your skull. And walk out with the title around my waist one more time.
You're looking at the only one that is best for CSW. CSW is at its best when Brian Caige is on top of the mountain, and I will walk out of Four Corners of Hell CSW champion forever.
No, there's only one man that deserves to be CSW champion forever, and that's me. I'm coming for what's mine, and I'm gonna be CSW champion forever. Forever! Forever! Forever!
I am the definition of technician. And I don't need a chair. I don't need thumbtacks. I don't need a table. All I need are my bare hands.
Four Corners of Hell, coming up next. Culture Shock Wrestling fans, this is the one we've been waiting for, the big one, Four Corners of Hell. As you see our first entrant, the definition of technician, Chris Tighe. As you saw in his earlier interview, probably the most reluctant entry into this match. Not very much a fan of hardcore rules or weapons. There you see Commissioner Caige there holding on to the belt. He's going to award it to the winner. Chris Tighe making his way to the ring, and is one of the first two entrants. He is obviously at a disadvantage. Let's explain how this works, folks. We've got 5 participants. We're going to start off with 2, and we're going to keep going every couple of minutes until we have, one by one, all 5 entrants in the ring as we await the identity of our second competitor, and it is Brian Caige. Well, he looks a bit different there. Kind of atypical of his usual self-aggrandizing, enthusiastic entrance. Pulling a little more of a sourpuss here. Pun intended. But as I was saying, folks, we're going to go one by one, starting with these 2 guys, Chris Tighe and Brian Caige. There will be an additional entrant. There will be no eliminations, no pinfalls, no submissions, no countouts will matter until we have all 5 men in the ring. And then at that point, it's anything goes. There you see Chris Tighe and Brian Caige facing off as the bell rings and we are ready for action. Chris Tighe apparently still not done jawing with the audience here. The audience probably having at a loss as to who to cheer for here. Neither of these guys' favorites, and oddly enough, they shake hands, a sign of sportsmanship. I guess contrary to the saying, there is honor among thieves, shall we say. Chris Tighe going for the headlock. Caige comes around with a waist lock and then a headlock of his own. These are the 2 guys that are really going to have to pace themselves, obviously. They don't want to wear themselves out by the time the last entrant makes it into the ring. Big leapfrog by Chris Tighe takes Caige over into a side headlock takedown. And again, I think you're going to see these guys take it very basic, a very slow pace if they're smart, and both men certainly are known for their ruthless strategy. Caige going for a kick there. Didn't look like he got any of it. Now locking in a chin lock. Brian Caige and Chris Tighe, kind of an odd assortment of competitors here. Neither one of them fan favorites, but not exactly friendly with one another, despite the handshake. And is Chris Tighe the man in this who really wants it the most? We've seen over the past couple of weeks here on Viral, his teammates in Tradition, Marcus Gibbs and Street Bandit, taking the tag titles. Darius Kane, the newest member of Tradition, taking the Viral Internet title. Chris Tighe can pull off the impossible here. Not quite impossible, but certainly he's at quite a difficulty level entering first. And he's really got a lot of bragging rights here, and so does Tradition. Good Lord, wouldn't that be unbearable? All 4 of those guys holding the gold. Perhaps slightly more bearable than Brian Caige emerging with the gold and bragging about how he's going to be champion forever and ever. There you see him, Chris Tighe throwing the drop kick right off, locking him into a cravat there, torquing on that neck as Chris Tighe on Brian Caige. That's certainly to his advantage in the long run, something that really doesn't expend too much energy out of Chris Tighe, but puts the pain on Brian Caige and you would think, limit his movement, limit his ability to perform wrestling maneuvers as Caige begins to fight out of it. Gets a leg up, and oh, a nice leg takedown, I must say. Is Caige going for a figure four? No, drops down on the knee. Working a bit of an Indian deathlock variation here. Even though pinfalls and submissions do not count until all of the participants are in the ring, it is nonetheless to Brian Caige's advantage to take a wheel out from under Chris Tighe. Tighe certainly feeling the effects of this. Elbows straight into the spine and shoulder blade area of Brian Caige, exactly where he was putting the pressure on that cravat earlier. Always a method to the madness, if you will, of the definition of technician. And look at this. He's showing Brian Caige, hey, you want to put on a leg lock? I can do that too. I can take your legs out from under you. Caige somehow manages to power his way out of there. Now you see the tensions brewing between the two. No more handshakes. It's a shove fest. They are nose to nose. Suddenly they realize they're about to get an unwelcome visitor. Bam! Lane Smart taking both men down. Now taking turns at Brian Caige and Chris Tighe. You've got to figure Lane Smart is one of the favorites to win this. One of the biggest, one of the strongest guys in that ring, and he is absolutely ruthless and merciless. A man who feels no remorse whatsoever. And a big cannonball into Brian Caige in the corner. Lane Smart has only been in there for a short time. Has made quite an impact on both of these guys. We see him whipping his Tighe into the ropes. And a big backdrop there. I should say side slam, excuse me, by Lane Smart. And a kick for good measure. Uh-oh. Here comes the plunder. You had to figure Lane Smart would be one of the first guys looking for some toys to play with underneath that ring. By toys, I mean things to bludgeon people's heads with, because that's Lane Smart's playtime right there. Look at that. Steel folding chair, and he's like a kid at Christmas, this guy. I'll tell you what. Here we go. Watch out, Chris Tighe. And he definitely avoids it. Again, Chris Tighe stressing his credentials as a technical wrestler. Oh, crack right over the skull. But he can't avoid that chair from Lane Smart. Oh, now Brian Caige has a toy to play with too. Looks like a golf club. Oh my goodness. Hitting Lane Smart where it really hurts. And now putting the choke down with that 9-iron. We heard Victor Crew actually allude to that weapon earlier. Looks like Brian Caige beat him to the punch. Wouldn't be surprised that's something Crew himself hit under there. Now Lane Smart teeing off on Brian Caige. Brian Caige perhaps going to have some trouble sitting down tomorrow after all that, but he's right back on the fight with that chair. Backfiring on Lane Smart. He's the one who brought it into the ring. It took Chris Tighe out there. But Brian Caige is taking over here. Oh, face first right into that chair on the mat. And you got to figure Brian Caige is going to be one of the more ruthless people in this match too. You talk about no remorse, no empathy. This guy is only in it for himself. He can shake hands with Chris Tighe all he wants. We know what's really in the darkened heart of this man. Now Chris Tighe looking to get back into it. Perhaps he'd be well served just to sit outside and let these guys beat the crap out of each other. But he's got a hold of that chair, and I think he's looking to return the favor to Lane Smart. No, true to his word. He said he doesn't need a chair. He doesn't need a table. He doesn't need a golf club. Just a waist lock and a suplex, and there you go. Chris Tighe, not always the paragon of virtue, but he's certainly living up to his credo here. Now takes Brian Caige out of the corner. What's he got in store for him? Boston Crab looks like. Caige trying to fight it. That's going to be a very painful stretch of the ligaments. And look at him with the knee, putting the pressure right back on the neck and shoulder blade area as he was working on earlier with Brian Caige. Chris Tighe, even in the most hardcore of matches, always has a wrestling strategy, a scientific game plan. I don't think that game plan included getting kicked in the face by Lane Smart, but there you go. It did the effect on Brian Caige, but Lane Smart now back in control. And again, a little more well-rested than these two. But we've still got other combatants waiting to come in there, and they're going to be even more fresh. That's why everybody looks forward in CSW to this Four Corners of Hell. The fans have waited all year long. Perhaps not the participants quite so much. They know they're in for a long night. Even the last guy in the ring, Commissioner Caige there, still holding on to that belt. He's going to award it to one of these gentlemen before the end of the evening. And look who's here. It's Victor Crew from the Fist. Very interesting point to make here. You may remember Caige, a couple of episodes on Viral, made the ruling that if Victor Crew does not win this match, the Fist must disband. So perhaps Victor Crew with the most to lose in this match. And have we seen some crimson on the face of Chris Tighe at this point? Flying cross body block by Victor Crew. 1, 2. Oh, Brian Caige using the aforementioned. Well, actually, I think he's got a Singapore cane now. That was something else Victor Crew made reference to. I think Caige probably taking particular delight in using one of Crew's weapons of choice on him. Victor Crew returning the favor now, though. And you talk about a guy who has no scruples, no morals, will resort to anything to get the victory. That's Victor Crew. Look at this, very creative use of that kendo stick. Part hardcore, part scientific wrestling. But here comes Lane Smart, ready to take out the trash with that garbage pail right there. And outside goes Victor Crew. Just as quickly as he gained momentum, Lane Smart cut it right off. Now Smart queuing up with that Singapore cane to the back of Victor Crew. You see Chris Tighe waiting out there, trying to catch his breath a little bit, perhaps trying to pick his spot. Victor Crew fighting back on Lane Smart. Folks, this is something else. The best in competition right here on Culture Shock Wrestling Viral. As it spills out in the crowd, vicious bulldog down to the unforgiving floor on Lane Smart by Victor Crew. Folks, I think I neglected to mention earlier, this is a Four Corners of Hell invitational match. Invitational is in they are only letting former CSW champions in this. And here you see the very first CSW champion ever, Chris Tighe, squaring off with the longest reigning CSW heavyweight champion, Brian Caige. Victor Crew, Lane Smart, also former champions. And we await the entry of both Cameron Frost and John Ryker. They've certainly been there before. And really, this is anybody's ball game at this point, folks. And here, we await the entry of another fresh combatant. As the menacing music continues, you see a referee on the outside there keeping an eye on things. Referees, of all people, are going to have their hands full with this. Trying to keep track of all these folks in the ring and outside, and it's anything goes. Rules may be out the window, but it's still going to be hard to keep track of which guy has eliminated whom. plunder continues in the ring. Here comes Mr. Hardcore himself. And if this kind of match is anybody's specialty, it is John Ryker, that man right there. And he's surveying the carnage here. Chris Tighe trying to get a hold of him, takes a punch to the face for his trouble. Caige trying to use that cane on him. That backfired in a hurry. Oh man, look at him go to town on Brian Caige, Lane Smart, and Chris Tighe. If ever there was a Babe Ruth of the Singapore cane, it's got to be Mr. Hardcore John Ryker. As he continues the punishment from the outside, perhaps John Ryker sensing one of his biggest obstacles in this match is Lane Smart. What did he just take to the forehead there? God only knows. I would imagine he's going to come up bleeding from that. John Ryker and Lane Smart, such a storied history between these two. They've been tag team partners, but more often than not, they've been opponents in bloodshed, and tonight is no exception. And you got to believe John Ryker wants to quickly dispense with the one man that might be his equal in the hardcore department. What is he grabbing out from under the ring now? I think Brian Caige just felt it upside his head. Remember, Chris Tighe and Brian Caige have been in this since the beginning. And you see them feeling the effects of this worse than anyone at this point. Victor Crew is scrambled off somewhere. Not sure what he's up to at this point. Yep, he busted Lane Smart wide open, and he's going to work on that cut on the head. Oh, cheese grater. I remember him blooding up Cyrus LeVay with a cheese grater. John Ryker, never at a loss for things to use to bash people over the head and make them bleed. That's for certain. And there's Victor Crew, who's lying in wait for his chance to hit John Ryker. Going to town first with that trash pan lid, and now with the Singapore cane again. John Ryker's going to feel the effects of some hardcore action now. And Victor Crew laying it down on him. I think he's picking up Brian Caige there to give him some more as well. As Lane Smart struggles to regain his wits. Oh, look at that spike right down to the floor. The cane straight to the throat of Brian Caige. Trying to crush the man's larynx. Oh my goodness, not the lighter fluid, not again. We've seen this before. Oh, folks, I'll tell you what, oh my God. There is nothing worse than the smell of searing, burning flesh. I know you folks don't have smell-o-vision at home, but it's a pretty distinctive smell. Brian Caige taking that flaming shot right to the chest. Lane Smart relentless, but he's still got Victor Crew and that cane to deal with. Look at Crew. I think he got in over a dozen shots in a matter of 2 or 3 seconds there. Chris Tighe going at it with Lane Smart as Brian Caige looks what hits to be a questionable or low blow on Victor Crew. Hey, anything goes. It's not against the rules tonight. And we're still waiting for one more man to come out, and I believe that man is going to be focused like a laser beam on Brian Caige. We saw him make his long-anticipated return to CSW last week on Viral. The Master of Devastation, Cameron Frost, and Caige is waiting for him. These two men cannot wait to go at each other. They've certainly got a personal issue going on. And there he is. taking charge all over the place, but especially on Brian Caige. Cameron Frost is all wound up. And now, with our last entrant in the ring, we can start seeing some eliminations from this match. There's two old adversaries, Cameron Frost and John Ryker. Again, also former tag team partners as well as former enemies. They've gone at it every which way there is. Tighe takes a punch for his trouble. Brian Caige looking to get involved. He takes one for his trouble. And you got to know Cameron Frost and John Ryker are viewing each other as the biggest threat, respectively, for one another. Big splash in Elaine Smart, who is just a sea of crimson from the forehead there, as Ryker drags Victor Crew into the fray. As Crew mentioned at the top of the program, a place he does not want to go again, but nonetheless, he is in the eye of the hurricane here. And a little teamwork from the F&A team, as they used to be known, John Ryker and Cameron Frost, but despite that moment of cooperation, they are not teammates tonight. They are opponents. They are both going after the same thing. The CSW heavyweight title at stake here. No wonder everybody is pulling out all the stops for the biggest prize in Culture Shock Wrestling, that heavyweight championship. Cameron Frost going to town on John Ryker. What's he got in store for him? Moving him around here, and there's a Singapore cane. Wasn't sure if he's going to try to throw him into that building beam or what. And now John Ryker smashing something over the head of Cameron Frost. Not sure what that was, but definitely effective. It's just amazing that so many of these guys still have the fortitude to stand up and fight at this point. What to take flight as Brian Caige is, but nobody there. As usual, everybody at the party completely avoiding Brian Caige. And a big suplex on Victor Crew on the floor by John Ryker. All of this, and we have still not seen one pinfall, one elimination yet. This is just a buffet of violence here. Take your pick. Walk around to any one of these 6 men. Get punched in the face, get suplexed on the floor, get Singapore caned. Get a chair to the back, a garbage pail to the head. It's all right here for all of your emergency room induction needs, if you will. Now Cameron Frost making further creative use of that Singapore cane, using it as a fulcrum, and a single Boston Crab on Victor Crew. These men certainly not without their wrestling skills, even as they're throwing the rules out the window. Oh, speaking of which, low blow by Victor Crew. Looks like we got a hockey stick in there now. Oh my. There goes Victor Crew's love life for a while. Is there any instrument of any sport we haven't seen introduced into this yet? Hockey sticks, golf clubs. Back to the Singapore cane. And one for Frost for good measure. Oh, nacho punch! The infamous Greco-Roman nacho punch. As Mr. Hardcore gets a face full of nachos and cheese. That's a maneuver Brian Caige certainly has a copyright on. And now you see Tighe and Elaine Smart. I was going to say going at it, but Tighe looking just struggling to maintain his balance here. He's lost a lot of blood. Nonetheless, his instincts are taken over. Always aware of where he is in the ring. Taking out Brian Caige. I think he hit a DDT there on Lane Smart. Smart a little too close to the ropes. And Tighe wisely trying to pull him in for a pinfall. Let's see if this is the first elimination. 2, and only 2. This thing is a long ways from being over. Here comes Victor Crew picking his spot. Who's he aiming for? Lane Smart catches Brian Caige on his way back into the ring. And this is just absolute mayhem, folks. Well, it would appear Lane Smart gained a pinfall victory over Brian Caige on the outside. Now Victor Crew going to work on the Master of Devastation, Cameron Frost. You gotta wonder how much ring rust is on Cameron Frost. He has been away for a while. No questioning his credentials, his experience, his ability, but anybody who's been away from the ring for a while, they gotta take some time to get that conditioning back. And there's no conditioning like ring time. And boy, did he pick an event to try to find his ring time back, the 4 quarters of hell. If anybody can pull this off, it's Cameron Frost. As you see, the 2 bloodiest men in this so far, Lane Smart and Chris Tighe. Oh, excellent drop kick with the garbage lid. And now Frost taking his shots on Lane Smart in the corner. Victor Crew wisely standing outside. Excellent drop kick to the face by Chris Tighe. What has Cameron Frost got in mind for the beast? Lane Smart. Snapmare takeover and a big kick right to the kidneys. You know he's going to feel every bit of that. I think I saw John Ryker down there reaching for some more weapons, like we don't have enough out here. What's left to pull out? The kitchen sink? Good Lord. This thing is just a spectacle of blood and gore. What a better guy to go after it with than Victor Crew. Boy, we could see the last of the Fist tonight just by Victor Crew being eliminated from this match. And he's got 5 guys ready to go after him. The odds are really not in anybody's favor. We got to kind of wait and see how this pulls out. Cameron Frost picks him up. Oh! 1, 2, 3. Victor Crew is out of there. And so is the Fist. The Fist is no more. So Brian Caige and Victor Crew have now been eliminated. We're down to Lane Smart, John Ryker, Cameron Frost, and the very first entrant in this match, Chris Tighe. You got to figure he's in a worse way than anybody at this point. Now Ryker and Cameron Frost eyeing one another. Frost wisely getting out of the way. Victor Crew taking a goodbye shot for good measure. John Ryker doesn't care he's been eliminated. He gets a chance to hit Victor Crew over the head, and frankly, who wouldn't take a chance like that? Now where are we going? These guys just taking each other inside, outside, all around the world here at the House of Hardcore. Perhaps that was Ryker unceremoniously locking Victor Crew out. You're gone. Goodbye. I'm ready to eliminate the next guy now, says John Ryker. And I must say, he's the one standing the most tall at this point. Everyone else has been bashed into oblivion. Now Lane Smart catching a second win. Looking worse for wear, still bleeding pretty profusely from the head. But he's got his sights set on John Ryker, and oh Lord, it's the thumbtacks. Oh, low blow by John Ryker. And I think we're about to see a Wile E. Coyote type backfire. Boom! Pump handle slam on the thumbtacks. Cameron Frost right in there to capitalize. 1, 2, 3. Lane Smart is out of there. And suddenly the herd here has been thinned by half. It's down to Frost, Ryker, and Tighe. All former champions. One of them soon to be a future CSW heavyweight champion. But who wants it the most? And just the sight of a chair in the hands of Chris Tighe tells me that he's a guy who wants this, because he despises that kind of wrestling. He's been on record about that forever. But this is one night he's not going to back down from swinging a chair. Oh, driving it straight into the spine of John Ryker. Ryker's been out for a few months with an injury. Rumor had it was his knee, and boy, look at that. Takes him right down to the mat. 1, 2. Did he get it? Cameron Frost waiting behind to take his shot. I think John Ryker may have been eliminated there, if I'm not mistaken. My apologies if I'm calling that too soon. This is a little hard to keep up with. But at the moment, it looks like it's down between Cameron Frost and Chris Tighe. Frost the last man in, Chris Tighe the first. You do the math. Who's taking the more punishment at this point? Who's bleeding at this point? Who's got to be gasping for air right now, plus getting a chair drop kicked into his face? Chris Tighe could be seeing the gold belt trifecta of tradition slipping away from him. You see Cameron Frost setting that chair up in the corner. Certainly he's got plans for it. And I think Chris Tighe's head is where the planning is going. Tighe obviously still together enough to see where this is going, trying to fight out of it. But how much does he have left in the tank at this point? He has given all he's got to give, and now he's got to give more, and boom! Suplex! Back first into that chair. A Cameron Frost specialty there. And could Cameron Frost pull off the impossible? His first night back in the ring in CSW. Coming out on top over 5 other competitors. 4 corners of hell. 2 count only. And I'll tell you what. Say what you will about Chris Tighe. The man has got a lot of fight, a lot of heart. He is not going to go down easy. Cameron Frost, though, looking to finish him off. You see Tighe elbowing his way out of that. Cameron Frost ready to reverse his move as well. And could this be it? Tighe holding on literally for dear life here as far as this match goes. Elbows to the face. Freeing himself from Cameron Frost. Big super kick to the chest. Stuns him as he picks him up once again. Oh no, Brian Caige. Big bicycle kick to the face of Cameron Frost. Brian Caige has been eliminated. He's got no business being in there. But once again, that personal issue between these two coming to the forefront. Brian Caige saying, if I'm not going to win this, then I'm damn sure not going to let Cameron Frost win it either. And he could be handing Chris Tighe the golden keys to that championship strap. Oh, big chair thrown to the face. Cameron Frost now at a distinctly bigger disadvantage than he was before Brian Caige weaseled his way back into the ring. You see Commissioner Cali Kidd giving him an earful as Tighe Locks in a crossface with that chair. Oh, that's brutal. He could break the man's neck. I don't think Cameron Frost has any choice here. He's got to tap out, and he does. Chris Tighe would have broken his neck. Wise decision by Cameron Frost. A heartbreaking one, I'm sure, but he really had no choice there. And against all odds, not only does Chris Tighe become the brand new Culture Shock Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, but Tradition becomes the holders of all the belts, and here you see them coming to celebrate. Tag Champ Street Bandit and Marcus Gibbs, along with the Viral Internet Champion Darius Kane. And you know they're going to be gloating about this for some time to come. They have just seized control of all of the belts, and you got to hand it to Chris Tighe. I mean, certainly with an assist from Brian Caige, but he fought from beginning to end, and he has come out on top of this. Now you see him taunting the fans. The fans none too happy about this. Chris Tighe ready to be awarded his heavyweight championship belt from Commissioner Caige as his teammates celebrate with the rest of the gold here. Now Caige handing the title over to Chris Tighe, and I'm sure very reluctantly raising his hand in victory. Caige not happy about this one bit. And look at that. Look at the disrespect by Chris Tighe. Caige's got a bum arm there. Chris Tighe taking every advantage he can capitalize on, even after the match is over. Well, folks, there you have it. Brand new CSW Heavyweight Champion Chris Tighe. But this is hardly the end of the saga as we lead into our next big live event this weekend, Saturday night, April 4th at the Mossy Head Community Center. Bell time at 8. Tickets are $8, but children under 6 get in free. Commissioner Caige has ruled that there will be a #1 contender tournament to determine who will face Chris Tighe for the belt the following month. Already announced a special attraction match between Mr. Hardcore John Ryker and the Beast Lane Smart in tribute to our CSW family member Rose Rogers. This is now officially part of the #1 contenders tournament. Not only that, the returning Master of Devastation Cameron Frost will take on Victor Crew. The Viral Internet Champion, Darius Kane, will take on the man he defeated for that title, Suicidal Soldier. Not only will this be for the Viral Internet Championship, but the winner will advance in the #1 contenders tournament. Additionally, we are going to see respective tag team partners square off as Street Bandit of Tradition takes on Mike Metal from the Party Monsters. And then Street Bandit's partner Marcus Gibbs will be taking on Fabulous Jimmy from the Party Monsters. April 4th, this Saturday. You do not want to miss it. And of course, the new champion Chris Tighe will be there as well. Anything can happen. What's going to go on? Are Brian Caige and Cameron Frost going to go at it again? What else could happen? Folks, you got to be there to see this in person. Do not miss it. Once again, 8 p.m. this Saturday, April 4th at the Mossy Head Community Center. We hope to see you there. For CSW Viral, this is Mike Roycroft signing off. But before we go, I understand we have some words in the back from the new champions, Tradition.
The storm has arrived. The hell, the damn avalanches, the damn earthquakes, lightning bolts, tornadoes. The wheels of tradition was never pushed off the road. We stayed on the path. Religious men say you stayed on the deen, you followed the hadith, but I'm not a religious man. What we did execute was our quest for gold. We traveled for many years, fought many men to come together, not like horsemen, but more like Avengers, more like a supergroup that held true and steady the values of pro wrestling tradition. But now that we've captured, or the viral title, the heavyweight and the tag, and we acquired one of the meanest men in this business, the Killer, a man who is a mercenary. He has no political aspirations, no religious affiliations. He just cared about destruction, corruption, and anything else. The thud, rumble, the eruption. This is Mr. Hardcore, Mr. Super Badass, Darius Caige, the Muscle.
The new CSW Viral Champion.
Viral. Spell it out.
The first thing I want to do is thank everybody that did not believe in me. I want to thank everybody that did not support me because, like I said from the beginning, I did it all on my own. And the next thing I'd like to say is how proud I am to be a part of the tradition. Not only the tradition, the winner's circle, from the looks of it. Point blank, the winner's circle. I dropped Victor Cruz before he lost the damn match. We knew he was a loser to begin with. And I'd be damned if I follow a loser. You see who we take the lead from now. The man in CSW. Nobody can touch us.
We're tradition.
We are the tradition. Nobody else. You see, and I'm here to let you know, I'm in the tradition of exposing all frauds. Nathan Beast, nowhere to be seen. Suicidal Soldier, he's actually dead now, thanks to Darius Caige. We moving on up the ladder. So if you don't want problems, get down or lay down. And that is the tradition.
You know, since I came back, this wasn't what I signed up for. It was in my contract that these were not going to be the matches that I'd taken part of. But you see, when I re-signed, I didn't read it. So the only way for me to get another shot at the CSW Heavyweight Championship was to insert myself into 4 corners of hell. It's not something I'm proud of, but it doesn't matter. I still walked out CSW Heavyweight Champion. John Ryker, Cameron Frost, Victor Cruz, Brian Caige, Lane Smart. I beat you at your own games. I'm the definition of technician. This isn't my rodeo. But I did it. Because there is nobody better in CSW than me. There's nobody better than the definition of technician, Chris Tighe. And there is nobody better. You can say I'm the lead, but that's not the truth. The truth is, we are all equals. And together, we are tradition, and we are CSW.
CSW Viral. I scream, you scream, we all scream for tradition.